talk about a little bit about me growing up in the Appalachian Mountains, just because I feel like the Appalachian Mountains, they get this really bad rap, and it's not true at all. Here's a little spoiler alert for you, okay? My maiden name, and I'm gonna say this as a joke because most people will take it that way, is actually Beverly. Beverly is my maiden name, and yes, I grew up in the backwoods of Southwest Virginia, and yes, I am considered a Beverly hillbilly, and not the one that lives in California and has all the golden money. I literally grew up in poverty. I think there's this huge misconception about growing up in the Appalachians, and it is a bunch of uneducated people or people that are on drugs or all these like societal, like we're not societally acceptable because we choose to maybe live in a single wide trailer, or we choose to have a bunch of land and farm, or we choose to can our food, or we choose not to spend $300 at a steakhouse. You know, there is a different value for me growing up in the Appalachians and what it taught me as just a person. The big thing growing up for us, for me in particular, was my granny always wanted to take me to church. We would go to church like almost every Sunday. My grandmother was a Jesus loving, vapor rubbing, corn shucking granny, and she was fun and she was hilarious, and she did not have a whole lot of formal education, but the one thing about that woman is she could know how to survive. She could feed you, she could teach you how to sew, like she made the best pies. Oh my golly. And she taught me probably my greatest skill in life that I use, and that's how to make homemade biscuits and sausage gravy, which is my favorite. And I have passed that trait on to my husband because the man did not know how to make sausage gravy. He used butter. Like, why would you use butter making sausage gravy instead of the grease from the sausage? Like, it was a complete sin. Like, he was using butter. And he's from Texas. Anyway, I finally taught him how to properly make sausage gravy. And obviously, I think that leveled up his life a little bit because, as you know, if you're from the South, like, sausage gravy and biscuits is a real thing. But anyway, the thing about it is that growing up, and I grew up, like, I went to school. I did really well in school overall, even though I had all this trauma and all these bad things happen to me. Like, I did really well in school. My intention was to go to college right out of high school. That obviously didn't happen for a little bit of time, but I did really well in school. My childhood growing up was pretty, obviously without the trauma and all the family stuff. Like, I mean, I had a Barbie car. I used to run around in the grass, and I used to go down to the creek. We had a creek that used to run in front of our house, and I'd go down there and I'd catch maybe on, I think they were called like salamanders, little orange lizards. Like, me and a cousin, we'd go down there and we'd get one of those big old ice cream buckets, and we would fill this ice cream bucket up full of salamanders and take them home. And my grandma would be like, "Your kids are going to kill them." And I'm like, "No, I try to put them in a tank." Played basketball. The only thing that we really did in the summer was we had a pool. We'd go to the pool, and then, like, coal mining in that area was big. That's where a lot of men worked, whether they worked underground or they worked driving a coal truck. A lot of the women, from what I can remember, is there was like they were a lot of moms stayed home with their kids. Some of them worked, like some of them were nurses. They'd go up to the hospital, or like we had some doctors that come in from like out of the country that worked in our little local ER down there. But life was pretty simple. And the one thing I can tell you about growing up in that area was it was slow. Like, when it was just a slow of an area. And when I do go back down home, like, it's just it just feels slower. Like, it feels like time is just moving so slower. I don't know if if I can really explain that any better, but it's like it's this calmness between the mountains. Like, the little town I grew up in, it's just like this little town that's between these mountains, and you drop down into the town, and you have like the schools were there. There was Hardee's. I don't know if you know if you guys don't know what Hardee's is. It might be like a college juniors to you guys, but we had a Hardee's. We didn't have a McDonald's when I was growing up. We didn't get a lot. I was like 16, 17 down there. I didn't even live there at that point. But yeah, and like all the parents, like they just, it's true. Like my grandmother used to let me run around barefoot and I used to play in the creek and, you know, I had big dreams, like all these big, beautiful dreams of leaving this area because I had seen like on TV growing up, like watch TV, I'd seen all these big, beautiful buildings and all this other stuff. And then now when I go home, I really just kind of want to go back to that simpler, calmer, like just lifestyle because there's something super peaceful about that I really can't explain. It's it's slow, but it's real, and the people there are kinder and they help each other. And there's like this community that is just a close knit because it's a small town. And you go to church, everybody's gonna feed you. You see your kids running around in the green grass or driving through the mountains and just the trees block the sunlight from the road. It's beautiful and it's peaceful. The point really of the video is that yeah, I when I grew up and I left the Appalachians and I went to Virginia, I talked a lot slower. My life was a lot slower. I didn't know how to necessarily function in all of the chaos in the world that happened because hadn't been ever exposed to it. I was 14, 15 years old when I left. But like the people that are from there, they're just amazing. They were really amazing people, and people that have come from there, they're musically talented. They've gone on to be doctors, lawyers, and just because we come from the slower way of life, or the Appalachians, or Appalachian hillbilly, or Beverly hillbilly, doesn't mean that we're uneducated. It doesn't mean that we're dumb. It doesn't mean that we lack any type of anything. It means that we grew up a little bit slower and that our values and morals might be a little bit different and we might prioritize things a little bit different, but we are just as capable of being anything and everything that we set our minds to. And we don't limit ourselves based on where we came